This song is an absolute banger. Love it. All right, let's get into this. What's going on, guys? How we doing tonight? Got a bunch of people already in here tuning in, wondering how everybody's doing. Who caught the episode earlier today with Anthony Amore? That was an episode that I had been anticipating for a long time. One that it had only been planned for about 2.5 weeks or so before we actually got it ready to rock and roll. We got the date planned and everything like that. So, but it was an episode that I had wanted to do for quite some time. And we got the grandfather clock going off right about now because it is 7 o'clock. Look at that. Couple quick things before we dive on into this episode. Number one, it's an open Q&A, so ask me anything you want. Obviously, certain questions I'm going to answer, certain questions I'm not. Some questions that I will, in fact, answer are questions about the show, questions about Rich or myself or Caroline. Questions that I choose to answer are something along the lines of, Seth, what's your favorite car? No, that's like a bit generic, but you get the point. It's questions I won't answer or any type of like personal questions or something like that. And something that's like super specific to you. So if you ask me a question like, hi, Seth, I'm 15 and a half years old and I live in Kansas City. My dream is to have a video or YouTube channel on circus juggling. I'm probably not going to dive too deep into it unless it's like a huge super chat. But other than that, let the questions go through and I'll be out here responding to them for a bit. Today, this weekend, I've been a bit ill. I've been a bit sick, so I'm not entirely sure how long today's chat's going to go, how long today's show is going to run, in fact. It really kind of depends on the mojo, what's happening tonight. And if we have a bunch of people in here asking some really fun questions, then I'll be on longer. But I have been a bit sick tonight, so I got my 2 coffees. And for anybody who doesn't know how the coffee hours run, who this may be their first time, the coffee hours typically run about an hour to 2 hours. And you guys can ask me loads of questions. I'll sit and answer honestly on the spot, zero preparation. So you guys are getting legit honest answers. Whatever it be, I'll try not to get myself in trouble, but sometimes I do. And you guys got until I drink my 2 coffees that were brewed a couple of minutes ago. So you guys got that long up until I decide to turn the camera off and I go do other stuff. So what is going on? Who do we have in the chat? Not really seeing much fly in here right now, so I'm just going to kind of ramble up until we start getting some Q&A stuff flying off. As I'm a bit sick, I've had a bit of a head cold today, so I am going to drink a bit of water before we start, if I can get the tab to open. There we go. Not sponsored, not naming the names. That's one thing. It's like, this show, I don't have any sponsors. The only thing that I have to adhere by is YouTube's terms of service and their, ad stuff. So as long as I don't get too crazy with like violence or like crazy political talk, we should be good. And right now I'm kind of open to the idea of sponsors because it'd be nice to have some cool products hanging around the house, like flowers or whatnot, or even like a watch company or something that I was thinking about a few days ago. But as far as, general sponsors, I don't have anybody like, I don't want like a sponsor, like nothing against this company, but like DraftKings or something like that. I don't know. I don't gamble, So it's like, I kind of want it to be, if I am going to sponsor something or if someone's going to sponsor the show, I kind of want it to be relative to the show, something that's, I guess, meaningful, or a product that I actually use. Cause a lot of people are just willing just to take sponsors for anybody. And it's not really something that, I'm all about. So just curious, who do we have in the chat? Who's hanging out with us tonight? Today's show with Anthony was pretty good. I had a good time doing it. The Gardener is a case that I've wanted to go over for quite some time. I've actually never visited the Gardener. It's a The Gardener, for anybody who may not have watched this past episode that released earlier today, is the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. That museum is famous for a heist that happened in the 1990s, and they stole 13 pieces of art, a couple masterpieces, Vermeer, Rembrandt, and some statues, Napoleonic flag, finial, some stuff like that. So, yeah, just kind of, just doing the episode, seeing how we do. Yeah. Today's episode was fun. It was definitely the episode that I prepared the most for, because I had to read so many books to get it right. Anthony being a pretty respectable man in the political atmosphere of Boston, I guess, if you will. It was something that I didn't want to, just dive on into uneducated. I believe now this is something that came new to me last night when I was doing the editing. I'm not sure if he was Secretary of State or if he ran for Secretary of State. I think he ran for Secretary of State. So that just kind of shows the character. Former FBI guy, undercover or secret agent, something. What, I don't know. Some kind of crazy agent, FBI, kind of dude. So it was something that when he came on the show, I wanted to be correct. So I read most of his books. He came out with 4 books. The Woman Who Stole Vermeer, The Rembrandt Heist, Stealing Rembrandt, and The Art of the Con. I got about 70% of the way done through Art of the Con. I read Stealing Rembrandt. I read the Heist, the Rembrandt Heist. I read that 1.5 times or so. I got about halfway through it. So, kind of doing my thing, prepping for the show. But 4 books in 2 weeks is pretty challenging, especially each book was like 300 something pages or 2 something. So definitely takes some time, to get through and whatnot. It was something that I had to kind of just, really sit down and dedicate to. Thank God for audiobooks. It would have been a more difficult task, I should say, if it wasn't for audiobooks. So yeah. Really not much of a mojo tonight in the chat. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes, but if we don't necessarily have any kind of pickup, I'm probably going to just call it a night just because I don't feel too well. I do see people flying in and out of the chat pretty regularly, so we're going to give it a couple of minutes. What do we have coming up next is Eli Frankel next week. I actually just sent him a text a few hours ago. He's going to be zooming in with us from California. I think he's over by Los Angeles, if I am remembering correctly. I think he's in Los Angeles. And he's going to be talking with us about The Night Stalker. The Night Stalker is Richie Ramirez in LA, San Diego, that whole general area, that Southern California area. And Richie Ramirez is famous for his murder spree, where he, went on and just committed all sorts of acts of crime, violent crimes and whatnot. So we're going to be covering him, breaking down the case. Eli is going to be joining us because he's pretty tight with the sheriff's department from that particular era. And he's got some behind the scenes, insider info that he's going to share with us about how it all went down. And we're going to really break into it. So find out what he knows, go over the case as a whole, kind of get Rich's history lesson of it, hear Eli's breakdown of it and whatnot, and just kind of see how everything rocks and rolls, Yeah. What's going on, everybody? How are we doing tonight? How are we doing tonight? Yeah, and then episodes that we got coming up, we've been talking about doing Jack the Ripper. We've been talking about doing Missy Beavers. Probably mispronouncing that. But that's one that's really interesting, I will say. Missy Bevers, her case, it's weird, man. It's very strange, I will say. It's because you got this piece of evidence, which is the video files, and you see the physical person that committed the murder, but you don't actually see their face. You see parts of it, and you can kind of zoom in and whatnot, and do that whole thing. But it's a weird one because you can't tell if it's male, you can't tell if it's female. There was some adultery going on within the case, so it was definitely a strange case. I did some research on it. I do the Stairmasters every day, so I remember standing there on the Stairmaster doing the thing and watching some of the surveillance footage, and I was like, this is weird. So we've had some comments requesting that particular case to get done, so that is something that's going to be there. We want to do Zodiac. Zodiac's a big one. These past couple of weeks, past month and a half or so, we had many people zooming in with us. Eric with JFK, Anthony with Gardner. Excuse me, a bit sick. Then we had Eli with Black Dahlia. So Rich and I haven't really been able to sit down and dive into specific cases. Stephanie as well. Dive into specific cases, in full, just because we've had the opportunity to have multiple guests on. So the original style of the podcast will definitely be coming back as we, push forward a bit. But yeah, it's been a crazy month or so. So I did send Ryan Burns a message about DB Cooper, and I never heard back from him. So not sure what that means. Actually, I kind of do know what that means, but yeah. Yeah. If there's any cases that you guys want us to cover, it's something that you should absolutely send us a message for. I've had a lot of people sending me emails, a lot of people visiting the website. Website seems to be doing pretty well for traffic and whatnot. Barnabas, what's going on? How you doing? Yeah, so the new style or the old style podcasts that Rich and I were doing, just him and I, will probably start to resurface just because we kind of flew through a bunch of guests really quickly, with Will, with Stephanie, Anthony, Eli, everybody. So we kind of had so many guests lined up that it was like, it was like interview. And we didn't actually get to break down any particular cases. So that whole breakdown stuff will be coming back. Rich, it's funny. Rich and I actually have a document in Google, and it has all the cases lined up that we need to cover. So we got stuff for the next year or so already lined up. Bunch of filming that we got to do. As you guys know, we film pretty quickly. The turnaround time is really quick. Yesterday we filmed at, 10 o'clock. Anthony showed up, so we probably were underway 10:15 or so. We were underway, I'd say. And that was AM, so 10 a.m. And when that video came out at 9 a.m., so less than 24 hours for a turnaround time to get a video out. And that's a lot of pressure on me to get the editing out. So, and yesterday I was, I've said it a couple of times today, a bit sick, head cold today. So last night was a bit rough. I had to take a shower and then come back to the editing just to kind of, have the steam and whatnot, kind of break up the nasal congestion before the, before the editing could resume. That intro, I had fun doing the intro, but I just started not being able to breathe, and my head was starting to hurt, getting a headache and whatnot, like a mini migraine. It was getting a bit difficult to, do the whole editing thing. So yeah. What's going on, guys? Barnabas, what'd you think of the video today with Anthony? Anthony was well spoken, I think. He chose his words wisely. Made sure that what he was saying was accurate, and he didn't want to just rifle off info. So I appreciated that. Yeah. What's going on, Caroline? Yeah. But yeah, so Karen, are you good? What are you looking for? Oh, but yeah, the the podcast is doing pretty good. We're approaching 11,000 subscribers with 2 million views. Something that I never really thought we'd approach. Like I never, like when we first started the podcast, it was always a goal to, you know, to get the views and whatnot. But it 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 was something that I was like, okay, I'm going to be here for years before we could even get to 1,000. I remember like looking at my subscribers having like 360, 358 or whatnot. And, you know, being like, oh my God, I just need to get 1,000. Once I get to 1,000, we're going to be good. Yeah. I think he ran for Secretary of State, to be honest with you. Really love how cool and professional openings are now. Your opens are now too. Love it. Yeah, yesterday I was having fun with that, with the sound effects, like the da 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 da. I was sitting there on the couch right over here, and I was like, Caroline, I'm like, I can hear the sound effect, but I don't know what it's called. And she's like, I don't know how to help with that. I'm like, what would you call it? And I'm trying to like verbally explain to her like the da 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 da. Yeah, it just wasn't really working. So, but it took me a minute to sit there and try to find it. A couple different websites that I use for free sound effects. And I finally found one, and it was like that cinematic drop or whatever they called it. So once we had that, I was like, okay, cool. Now we can do this, because I kind of had the idea. I took it from a History Channel show. They had done that. A documentary I watched probably about 2 years ago on the Hells Angels with George Christie, who I have communicated with and would like to have on the show. They did a documentary on him as a Hells Angel, and they used that sound effect, and I was like, I want that for this one, because I can see all the pictures, and I made it the way I could envision it. But I was like, my head was just killing me last night that script was actually like 3 sentences longer after that Anthony Moray picture. But my head was just killing me that I was just like, no, I'm like, Caroline, does this make sense? Do you think I can just cut it here and go into it? And she's like, yeah, that's fine. So I just cut it. I shut the laptop, and I went and I laid down and for like a half hour. And then I was like, I got to make a thumbnail. So I threw a thumbnail together within 25, 30 minutes. And I was like, all right, we'll remake this thumbnail tomorrow. So I made the thumbnail, and then I went back and I remade it this morning. A second tree? No, this is our main Christmas tree. We don't have two. We have a small one that I actually bought earlier today. It's like that big. I picked it up at Stop and Shop. We just added stuff to it. So we added the what do you call it? These like cranberry things, which are pretty cool. And then we added the flowers too, which is nice. I like the flowers. When I was trying to describe the tree that I wanted with Carol, because we had two totally different like views. She was like, I want green multicolor, and I'm like, I want white with red and yellow. So we settled on like frosted, and then these we thought were going to be yellow lights, because she was like, all right, cool, we can do frosted with yellow lights. But it doesn't. It's multicolor LEDs, so I can activate the colors to change, but it won't go to specific colors. It's weird. So it's either everything's multicolor and will shift colors, so each bulb can be every single color, but it won't be like one particular solid color, which I think is like a cheap way to do it. So I'm not too thrilled with the manufacturer of it. I probably won't buy another one of. I thought the picture of Caroline in the tree was the other room. The other room. Oh no! When she was sitting down doing the tree thing, no, she's sitting right here. We had just moved the rocking chair into the master bedroom. I got to do a house tour. It'd be kind of fun. I am working on dismantling the guest room. So we have right where I'm sitting in like an angle, and I'm sitting like diagonal to where Rich sits. So right where I am is where Rich's camera is when we film the podcast. Because I make it like an X, right? So you have like camera Rich, middle, and then you have my camera, and I'm sitting diagonal right there is Rich's seat, which stay there pretty constantly along with the coffee table. It sits there, and then directly to my left, so straight to my left is the guest room. It's made it to be a guest room just the way it is, the way it's laid out. But I'm probably going to dismantle it because people don't stay over my house too much. I have friends and whatnot, but they just, with Uber, not many people, want to sleep over my house. It's just, So I'm thinking about making it like a parlor, like another sitting area. I want to get like kind of like a table, like I guess like a coffee table, like a small one, with a couple leather seats and maybe a leather couch and whatnot. Just a kind of area where people can go and sit. Maybe film these cigar stuff or coffee hour stuff in there. I have a couple air cleaners, so I could definitely smoke in there, keep the door shut, and have like an exhaust fan pushing out to the outside. Yeah, I'm sure it would be totally fine as far as like smoke and ventilation. I'm not too worried about that. But I am thinking about dismantling the bedroom and making it more of a, what do you call it? Like a parlor, a second seating area. Which the only thing that kind of trips me up is the door. So when we're filming the regular podcast, if you guys look behind my camera, not this, but the regular podcast, you'll see the fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher is directly next to the trim that's the guest bedroom door. So that's where it is. It's directly behind me. So I kind of want that room to be like a separate hangout area that I can keep open during parties and whatnot. You good, Caroline? Oh, you put the icicle lights on. She's putting icicle lights on. She's been doing Christmas decorating all day. But yeah, I kind of want to make it like that whole separate seating area. Maybe do some filming in there or whatnot. And a place where I can just kind of like go and sit down and work and whatnot. If I want to go relax in like a dark area and whatnot, Caroline wants to watch TV or sit on the couch or something like that. That we have two separate areas where we can go. Most of the time, she like if she wants to like lay and like watch TikTok on her phone or whatnot, she'll do it like in bed. She won't, necessarily be, sitting out in the living room where I'll kind of sit out in the living room and, we don't watch much. We don't even have cable, her and I. We have some streaming services thanks to my father because he put us on some of his streaming stuff. But it just doesn't. I don't know. I just don't watch TV. I watch YouTube. So a lot of nights I'll watch like maybe a documentary. I love the History Channel's YouTube channel, or I'll even do audiobooks or whatnot. I'm always trying to like not waste my time. I have a tweet that I sent out that I think is pretty original, and I thought it was funny too. And that was my grandfather clock that's always going off. I'm like, grandfather clocks are, and the tweet was, grandfather clocks are a constant reminder that you're wasting time. And then I wrote ... TikTok ... TikTok as like a shot at TikTok because you're always wasting. I always waste my time on TikTok. I don't go on it. I have the app, but I try not to go on it just because I don't feel, for me right now, I don't feel like it's a productive use of my time. I'd rather be studying for an episode or a podcast or something like that, or doing something like this. Very rarely, and I've talked to my mother about this too. Like, I would love to. I want to have my mom on one day, my mother, on one of these coffee hours where we can kind of just talk. Because I get a lot of my beliefs from her because I spent the most time with her as a young kid, as a teenager and stuff like that when I was developing my ideas. But I'd like to have her on because she has always said, like, she's always said, like, work hard, work hard, play hard, sleep hard about me. Like, besides school, I was horrible at school, but I would, like, as a kid, like, single digit age, 9, 8, whatever. It was always like play outside, super hard, come in, go to bed immediately. Like, it wasn't like I was just up and just hanging around. It was always like, give it full throttle and then full throttle sleep. Like, Caroline and I always joke about it. Like, it'll take her an hour to go to bed. Like, say she goes to bed at 11. I'll be out here at 10 o'clock. She'll say, all right, I'm going to bed at 11. She'll go in at like 10:30, whatever, lay down. And then it'll be like 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock. And I'll go in there and she'll still be up, still trying to fall asleep or whatnot. And I'll go in there, it'll be 2 o'clock. I'll put my head down and I'll just out immediately. And that's like that every night. Very, very rarely, unless I'm sick, do I have bad nights that of sleeping. Last night was a bit rough too, just because I had a head cold. I'm still kind of getting over it. But yeah, it was just, what are you doing, Caroline? What are you doing? Oh, you're moving the chair. She's like decorating the house, so she's like moving all the stuff around. But, excuse me, I would like to have my mother on for one of these. I feel like it would just kind of be interesting. Plus, it'd be fun, I don't see her all that often. I talk to her daily. I call her daily, But as far as like hanging out with her and stuff like that and talking, it'd be kind of cool. Ooh, also, I did get something to make these coffee hours more interesting. It hasn't come in the mail yet, but it's a card game. It's called Questions for Humans. I don't know anything about it yet. I don't know if it's good. But it's like a deck of cards, right? They're like Uno cards. And they have text on the back of them. And it's a question. And you play it with a significant other, friends, parents, family gathering, whatever it is, right? And they have different subjects. So they have one that's called like, like Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatnot, or, relationship or friends or whatever. They have like all different categories of types of questions. But what? You good? What's up, Caroline? Are you okay? Can I continue? All right, hit it with water. Sorry about that. But the question. So it's kind of fun because I got the friends one, so now I can like open the questions and like it'll be like random stuff too, like stuff that necessarily like you guys won't have to ask or come up with, and it can be stuff that it can just be entertaining. So yeah, that should be coming hopefully by next week, a week from today. So nice jacket. I think that's Rocco. Can't really see the chat from here. I gotta look at my phone. Yeah, that is Rocco. What's going on, Rocco? How we doing? Thank you. I got three dining jackets or dinner jackets. These are dinner jackets because of the collar. The dinner jackets are different than suit jackets. I think that they're just shinier. The collar's just shinier. Meant to go out for, a fancy dinner, eat your dinner in your dinner jacket. Then what happens is you take your dinner jacket off and you hang it up, and then you replace your dinner jacket with your smoking jacket. And your smoking jacket is sort of robe-like, I guess, if you will, more loose and comfortable. And you go outside in your smoking jacket, maybe a bit insulated, and you would then smoke your cigar or cigarettes inside your or in your dinner jacket or in your smoking jacket, and that's what you would wear. Kind of fun. Men's Warehouse, yes, Men's Warehouse. Yeah, those cards will. I think that those cards will be. There we go. I think that those cards will be fun. I'm very much looking forward. I was really hoping that they would come by today. I ordered them a few days ago, so I was really hoping that they'd show up. I'm not sure if anybody knows Dave Ramsey, but it's like a Ramsey product, so kind of fun. I got it off his site or like his daughter's website or whatnot. His daughter Rachel, so she was advertising them as like her product. So I was like, all right, yeah, that's kind of cool. So yeah. But yeah, and I think it'd be kind of fun too if I had like my mother on here or whatnot, and she was answering the questions and I was answering the questions. We were doing like a family one or whatnot. Obviously, I wouldn't do like, Friends or something like that. I would try to find like more family based questions, and then that would give you guys a insight into what the family's like. Just kind of fun, How's everybody's weekend been? How's everyone's weekend been? Curious, Rocco, did you see the premiere earlier this morning? Did you see the premiere? Yeah. I was out for the OG Seth content watchers. 2 years ago, I was making content called Roscoe's Garage on this channel. It's how it started, was Roscoe's Garage. And it was car content. It was comedic car content where I would talk about specific repairs and use memes, make jokes. And it was meant to watch it once for comedic purpose and then watch it a second time for actual knowledge. And I took my car out a bit today. Didn't drive it much. Just pulled it forward. It started up pretty good. Pretty good. May have needed half a can of starting fluid, but we got it. We got it running. And I got a new coffee today too. I don't know what kind it is. I forget. It's like a light roast, but yeah, I ran out on Thanksgiving, which I was a bit annoyed about because it was the holiday and I didn't have coffee. So I had to figure something out. And that was ask my neighbor for coffee, and she gave me some, but she gave me Pete's, and I hate Pete's coffee. I hate the taste. I hate the beans. I refused to buy it. So when I tasted it, I knew it was Pete's immediately, and I was like, ugh. So I'll keep it as backup. But yeah, so this stuff's pretty good. It was relatively expensive. I've come here and I've said on the show many times that I'm willing to pay for coffee if it's good. I'll pay $15, $17, $16 for a bag of coffee. I will. But I expect it to be good. So it's my first sip of it. Seems to be all right. A bit light, so we'll figure out. Here's a fun fact too. What has more caffeine? Light coffee or dark coffee? Well, the answer may surprise you. It's actually light coffee. And it's light coffee because it's not boiled as much within the coffee maker. However the beans are constructed, I guess, if you will, dark roast, light roast. The darker the roast, the less caffeine there is. So if you want a strong coffee for a caffeine effect, you want a lighter roast, which is pretty interesting. Barnabas sent a message. I had to grab my phone. I've church Sunday mornings at 10, so I always have to leave the chat around 9:30, then finish then I finish the video later. You know, Barnabas, I was always wondering why I'd see you in the beginning of the episode, and then a few hours later, you'd send a comment later. So it'd be like 9 a.m., but then it would be like noon or something, and I'd see a comment from you, and I'd be like, did she go back and rewatch the entire thing? But now that makes more sense. That makes more sense. So I was always wondering why that was. I was always like, oh, she just wanted to send a positive comment. Thank you. Very nice. But now that makes sense that you watch it in halves. Back when the shows were longer, many people would break it up into sections. Like my father, for one, would break it up into sections. Now, I always advertise the show as something you can watch in the morning on Sundays if you have it. Yeah, I figured as much, Barnabas. It's kind of what I was assuming. But I advertise the show you can watch it on Sunday mornings with your coffee or whatnot. Sit on the couch, throw it on the TV, put it on the laptop, however you do it, phone. Or even while you're cooking breakfast, pop it in your ear. Because you don't necessarily need to watch the show. It's more listen. And I've actually worked with getting it on local radio stations to the South Shore of Massachusetts, submitting it as a podcast form. There are a couple of different stations that I've been in touch with, discussing whether or not we're going to do it. And the issue is that the turnaround time versus when it would air is a bit odd. No one really produces content on the weekends. Usually their content usually comes out on like Tuesdays or something like that. So it'll always be, submitted on Saturday night, and it wouldn't air till like Friday. But at that point, most of the people who want to watch it have already watched it. So it's we're just trying to make everything work, getting through it. As much as I don't enjoy sponsors, I definitely would do airtime. But the problem with airtime is that local radio stations need to have a caller ID every hour. And if my shows are an hour and 25 minutes, hour and 30 minutes, which most of them usually are, today's show was an hour and 6. Within that 1 hour mark, you need to let people know who's listening, WATD, whatever their dial number, WATD Marshfield or something like that. So it's just kind of like trying to figure out how it all goes. Do we do a radio cut for the podcast where we cut it down to just 59? Trying to make it work, but it's what it is. So yeah, I forget where I was going, but I often lose my train of thought. Yeah. Oh yeah. So I always market it as a Sunday morning listen, right? But I often review my podcasts when I'm driving, when I'm cooking, if I'm stretching before I have a gym session, whatever it be, or if I'm at work, is when I often listen. But yeah, I've told my father too multiple times, like, Dad, just listen to the podcast when you're driving. He goes, no, I need music. I can't focus. I won't focus on it. I need music. And I'm like, okay. I'm telling you, audiobooks when you're driving, you're going to drive much better because you're actually going to be focusing on driving, That's when I get most of my reading done. Because I drive, half hour in the morning to the athletic club, half hour back. Then when I'm getting dressed, making my various meals for the day and whatnot, or if I go to work, I say I have to do like maintenance on specific equipment. All that time, I'm usually just listening to stuff, whether it be Anthony Amore's books from this past episode, or if it be a history documentary on Vlad the Impaler Dracula. I can't right now. Whatever it be. What depends on what I'm in the mood for, There are, yeah. I like to listen. I find if I listen to music, I don't get as much done because I kind of get distracted. But if I'm listening to someone speak or whatnot, like an episode or something, I always feel more productive. I can't explain why. I don't know. What other shows do you guys listen to? I am curious. I am curious, like, what other episodes or podcasts or YouTube channels do you guys watch? Because I can see who subscribes to what if it's public on specific channels. Like my subscriptions are private, so you guys can't click on my profile and see who I subscribe to. But if it's public for you guys, I can go on there and see who you guys subscribe to. So I am just curious, like, what other content do you guys consume for true crime? And for me, I don't really consume true crime content. I only really consume what's relevant for true crime content of the episode that I'm doing. Have you ever heard of the dancing plague, late 1500s, where people danced themselves to death? No. Dancing plague. We're going to have to do a quick dancing. Hold on. Dancing. Not Dancing with the Stars. Dancing plague. Wow. It sounds like they're on loads of drugs, to be honest with you. They're on some form of methamphetamine. Mass hysteria, a psychological phenomenon where a group of people experience similar physical symptoms without a clear physical cause. Dancing in the streets until they die. You ever heard of it, Caroline? Caroline likes dancing. I like dancing too. With you. I hate dancing. Like, before I met Caroline, my friends and I, we would go to different nightclubs, bars, dancing clubs to go and try to find women. But I always hated that because it was always like dancing with my guy friends. It's like, okay, like we're just dancing with three dudes. Like this is, I'm all good. You know, like it always felt super weird. Like I just, I was uncomfortable doing it then. And now it's like sometimes like my whole friend group will get together and we'll go out to a local nightclub that's down the street from here, probably about 15, 20 minutes from here. And I'm just kind of like, you know, no, I'm all good. Like a friend of mine, my friend Nick, asks me the other day, we went out he asks me to go out. I think it was on Friday. He asked me Wednesday. Seth, do you want to go out? We can go out to the Cellar. We can go out to Precinct 10. We can go out to Players. And I was like, no, I don't feel like going out tonight. I want to prep for this interview. We did the episode with Will on Wednesday, so I had some editing I needed to get done. I was like, no, I'm all set. I'm going to pass. Well, I can't. There was no shot I was going to Precinct 10 with just Nick because that's a nightclub where there's loads of dancing. Maybe it was Thanksgiving Eve because that's always a big night. It's like amateur night. And I was like, there's no shot that, Nick, I'm going dancing with you to go try to go with you to try to go pick up women. I'm all set. I'd be standing in the middle of the dance floor, hating my life for an hour and a half. I always hated it. I couldn't do it. No, I think, did I go out with, I don't remember. I can't remember if it was last week or whatnot. Time flies for me. I do YouTube and Apple Podcasts, mostly true crime and weird paranormal stories. Yeah, I like Apple Podcasts. I like I'm trying to get the show on Apple Podcasts. You need to do like an RSS feed and all this other stuff too to get it on there. But it's like, I don't want to split my audience. You know what I mean? I like to know exactly how many people are watching and exactly how many people listen. So I've thought about doing the whole Spotify, Apple Podcasts, type stuff, but Apple Music maybe. But I don't know. I don't know. I kind of want to just be able to see all the info together because YouTube Studio is really good. It gives you unlimited info that I don't even use all of it. There are statistics on, you know, it'll break up what the gender statistic is for Plymouth County. And I'm like, when am I ever going to need that? The best way I can describe it is like the political election. What do you call it? The election map that you always see whenever there's a presidential election, how it shows you all the different states and whatnot. And then it'll go into that state and it'll break up all the counties. It'll do that, but then it'll also give me like what device people are watching on. What percentage of people in this county are watching on TV? What percentage of people are watching on iPhones or iPads or laptops? And then it'll tell me what percentage is women, what percentage is unspecified or men. It kind of goes, and then it'll tell me like the total watch time for this specific county or this. Yeah, it just, you can go so deep into YouTube analytics that it's further than you'll ever need. Unless you're really targeting a specific audience, which me, it's like whoever wants to watch the show just watches the show, you know? Yeah. Do young men fast dance together like girls do? Okay, so there used to be a TikTok channel called The Weird Night Crew, and it only got a couple of episodes in, and then I was like, I'm not doing this because it was weird. Or a couple of TikToks in called The Weird Night Crew. And it was my friend Nick, my friend Tom, and myself back in like 2021, 2022, when all of us were single and I first met Caroline back then. And, you know, it was that era of Seth, which is like, I look back and I'm like, it was like the worst version of me just because I was consuming alcohol on like a daily basis and I wasn't doing anything productive and I was just spending money like crazy. And I've since reeled myself in, which was like super helpful, but I was like 21 years old, so it's like whatever. But we used to go out to all these different clubs and record or whatnot. Well, it only happened a couple of times, but we would make TikToks of that specific night and all the stuff that happened. I've always tried to be like a producer, not a consumer in content. I've always just sort of done that. I don't know why. I've always had fun creating content. And when I watch content, I always go, how can I make that? Or how can I do something like that? I don't know. It's weird. But so we started doing the Weird Night Crew because Tom and we would do something and I'd be like, yep, that's a weird night. Like I remember before I met Caroline, and I think she's heard this story too, but I will answer your question. Do guys fast dance together? I swear this is relevant. I remember, Tom and I were at a bar or something. I forget exactly where we were. And we met these two chicks and they were probably at that time like 28. So I was like 21. And Tom is like, yeah. You know, like I think I've got a chance with, you know, the brunette. And I'm like, okay, all right, yeah, cool. I'm like, I'll keep the blonde entertained. I'm not really interested, but I'll be sure to keep her entertained so that you have a good chance, whatever, right? And we were just trying to like, you know, work together. And these girls were like, all right, bar's closing. Follow us to our house, which was like 45 minutes away. So it was like 2:00 in the morning. Tom and I were like, okay, yeah, sure. We get in the car. We drive. We follow them to their house. They pull in the driveway. We pull in behind them. They're like, y'all were actually coming? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, they were like, you're actually coming? And I'm like, yeah. So we get out. We go into their house. And we're like 45 minutes south. And the bar was, even was south from where we lived. So it was like here, here, and we're going even further. So now we're like an hour and a half away from where we lived, and it was like a Saturday morning or a Saturday night that we went out. So now it's Sunday morning, right? It's like 3:00, and these girls were like, all right, well, let's go inside and we can find something to do. And my friend Tom's like, works for me, and I'm like, all right, whatever. So we go in there, right, and they start, pouring alcohol, wine, whatever it be. And eventually one of them comes out comes down from upstairs. And she's like, do you guys want to like play a card game? And I'm like, we're all kind of just like, yeah, sure. So this girl literally lights a candle in the middle of the table. And she gets like all these like tarot cards and whatnot, and starts like shuts the lights off and starts like trying to communicate with like spirits and whatnot. It was like some freaky ass weird ritual thing that she's doing. She's like burning sage and shit like that, and she's trying to like communicate with our long dead ancestors. And I'm just fucking hammered at this point. I've been drinking Jack Daniels all night, and I'm sitting there trying to like my eyes are like shut and I'm trying to listen, but she's out here trying to communicate with my dead grandfather and whatnot. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And she starts reading our fortune and starts trying to talk to our relatives and whatnot. And this went on for probably 2 hours. Eventually Tom's like, there's no way this is happening. I'm like, let's get out of here. So after getting our fortune read for like 2 hours by this weird, I guess just group of girls that we thought we had a chance with, we left and we got in the car, and I looked at Tom. I'm like, what a weird night. So that's where the whole weird night crew comes from. And from there, we were always like if something popped up, because we always found ourselves getting into weird situations, and I'd be like, weird night crew, Tom. He'd be like, weird night crew, let's go. So it was always like weird night crew was always like, okay, I know it's crazy, it's crazy, let's do it. So it was always like something like that. So that's where the whole weird night crew thing started. But then with the whole dancing thing, so guys will dance with their friends to get the attention of girls surrounding them, I guess, if that makes sense. So like, it wouldn't have been uncommon for my two friends, Nick and Tom, for us three to go into a dance floor to see a group of girls that we wanted to go and talk to sit there, dance together, drink, whatever, hang out, be seen, and then go talk to them, so that it wasn't like we were just barging into their conversation, right? Because you know how people kind of group together on a dance floor. At least modern, they do. They kind of group together. And so it was kind of an effort to kind of just be seen and then go into that situation. But it nowadays, if Nick was like, yo, come on, let's go out to the dance floor, and it was just me and him, I'd be like, no, you can, I'm not. If you want to go up to a girl and she has a friend and you know, and right now I'm obviously I'm with Caroline, but if Nick was like, yo, come on, like I need like a wingman or whatever, I'd be like, all right, yeah, cool. I'll go up there and I can talk to them. I can talk to like anybody as long as I'm in the mood for it. And it depends on where I am too. One thing that I absolutely hate is talking to people from, I guess, my past, or talking to people from like Night at the Roxbury. I'm not sure. Is that like a show or a movie or something? Like Night at the Roxbury? That's kind of what I'm assuming that is. I'm not. If that's a TV show, which it sounds like, then I'm not sure because I don't really watch TV. But here's like, okay, here's something else that we used to do too. If I remember me, Tom, and Nick, it was a Saturday, and we were going out to Nick's college, which was UMass Dartmouth. Or yeah, Dartmouth. It was UMass Dartmouth. He was going for business. So we went down there, and the three of us the night before had literally watched Animal House beforehand. Old movie with Will Ferrell. Oh, I love Will Ferrell, but I have not seen that movie. I don't watch much TV. But we had literally watched Animal House less than 24 hours beforehand. So we were all ready to go. And I was like 21, fresh 21, thinking I can iron liver. And we went out to this nightclub and we just tried to raise hell. It was so fun. But it was crazy because speaking of old movies, it was just like watching some of these movies and whatnot. It was like, all right, yeah, let's do that. That looks like fun. Or like nights like The Hangover or the movies like The Hangover. We'd intentionally watch these movies so that the following night or that night would be even more crazy because we'd all be inspired to do so. Insane. I know it's kind of strange, but that is the truth. And they would admit it too. Maybe I'll have them on. My lights are freaking out, but we do have the backup lights. The light over here, there, and over there. So, yeah. But yeah, no, it was, and I remember, here's another one I can tell you. Another good, funny story too about 21-year-old dumbass Seth. There's a high-class casino called Encore, which is a chain casino that's in Boston. And they have various different types of restaurants, nightclubs, bars, whatnot. And of course, the traditional casino within the building. And we were putting together a birthday party, I guess, if you will. My friend Justin, who I'm very close with now, we work together for sports broadcasting for my full-time job. We had put together a birthday party for him to kind of, celebrate the fact that he was turning 22, I think it was. So, and I didn't know what to expect. So I, put the thing together. I found a hotel 20 minutes away. So I set up the Uber and stuff like that. And we got whatever, right? And so we were all drinking like crazy, right? We're all partying. We're all drinking. We're all having a good time. And I sort of lost my memory about halfway through the night. There are bits and pieces of it that I remember, but it was sort of, we're at the casino, we're at the nightclub, we're outside the casino, and then I wake up. I don't remember much more. I don't remember, leaving or whatnot. I remember waking up. I'm in the hotel. I'm in my clothes. And I'm like, oh, my friend is sitting on an ottoman that you'd put your feet on, right? He's sitting on the ottoman, belly down. So he's kind of draped over the ottoman. So his chest, so say this is him, right? His chest is here, his head's here, and his arms are kind of hanging down, and his legs are hanging down. So he's kind of draped over the ottoman like this, right? That, he's got his shirt off, blanket over him, and he's sleeping on the ottoman like that. I wake up and I'm like, oh, right? It's 10:30 in the morning. And I'm like, oh my God. How did I get home last night? And my phone, I can't find my phone. I'm like, oh my God, how much money did I lose at the casino last night? So I start freaking out, right? I start losing my mind because I don't know how much money I lost at the casino because I don't gamble ever. So I'm like, did I dump it all on black? Did I give it to some guy to try to play blackjack for me and win? I'm like, oh, well, how much did I spend last night? I look at my phone, and I finally found my phone, doing this whole thing, right? I finally get it. I pull it up, and I only spent $12, and it was on a beer and a water. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And it was because I couldn't get my code right really on my phone. So it was charged to my credit card. And I was talking to my friends later on. I learned that they were like, Seth, you kept getting the code wrong on your debit card. You couldn't get the cash to come out of the ATM. I'm like, oh, thank God. They were like, yeah, you were trying to throw it all on roulette. You were trying to blackjack. I'm like, oh, thank God that didn't happen, dude. I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, it's just kind of like weird night. Back to the whole weird night crew. Just kind of fun stuff like that. Watching Animal House before we go out was always a ritual. Watching The Hangover and being inspired, I guess, by those movies as foolish, unintelligent 21-year-old kids. Just kind of crazy, having crazy experiences. But yeah, guys don't necessarily fast dance together unless they're trying to gain attention of people around them. Personally, I'd find it kind of weird if I was doing that with some of my friends. If some of my friends are on, like, you know, power lifters and bodybuilders and whatnot, big guys, that it would just look unnatural. Yeah, it's kind of that. I don't even know how we got onto that whole subject. But I do know I was talking about it for about an hour because it's already 8 o'clock now, which is crazy. So yeah, that's that. And these are the kind of stories that I'm hoping the cards will bring out, because there's a lot of stuff that I forget because I'm put on the spot, because I'm right here and I have the camera and it's live, and, you know, a lot of stuff I do end up forgetting. But yeah, like, yeah, just, you know, being kids and whatnot and navigating young adulthood was challenging but fun for me. Only up until a couple of years ago, up until I was about 23. I just turned 26. So a couple of years now I've kind of been off the party phase and whatnot, just making sure that so my 23rd birthday, I kind of went overboard. My friends just kept, you know, making sure that I was consuming alcohol and whatnot and doing that whole thing. So I ended up having a bad night. Caroline ended up, you know, making sure that I was all right, making sure I was rolling on my side and that I wasn't face down or on my back, so that if I started throwing up, I'd be totally fine. But it was just kind of like, you know, this isn't necessarily the path I wanted to go down. So fortunately, I figured it out. Have you done anything interesting in Rhode Island since we're neighbors? LOL. Yeah, URI. Caroline, what college did Caitlin go to? Yeah. Oh, Roger Williams. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we had a fun night. Oh, you made hot chocolate. Let me see that thing. Let me see that. That thing is monstrous. That thing is insane. Here you go. What happened Caitlin's night that we went down to her dorm? Anything crazy? Am I missing anything about that night? We took furniture we took all the furniture, remember? Yeah, I remember we went down to her dorm. And two of the four of us blacked out. Yeah. Because of your Seth Lose. My Seth Lose, right. So I remember we got down to Roger Williams, and my friend Caitlin was like, okay, you guys can't sleep on this bed. This is Maeve's bed. And she has all her stuffed animals all lined up correctly in a row. And if you move one, she'll know. And my friend Nick just ripped the whole blanket off. He's like, I'm sleeping here. And she lost her mind and whatnot. No. So that was that. So her and Caroline slept in that bed. I slept in Maeve's bed. I remember Nick and Tom were like, no, I'm not sleeping on the floor. I'm not sleeping on the floor. So Caitlin was like, okay, all right, you guys set up the air mattress. I'm going to go in the bathroom and finish getting ready. Nick and Tom were like, no, I'm not sleeping on the floor. So they went outside they left the dorm, right? And I'm like, where'd they go? I'm halfway in the bag and I'm like, where'd they go? Again, I'm like 21. So I'm like, okay. So I go out and I follow them And they found this big ass couch in like the hallway, literally this big ass couch. And they're like, there's no way this is going to fit in the door. One of them had like a Swiss knife, or maybe I even had the Swiss Army knife. So they start like taking like the legs off and shit. And we ended up bringing this couch that we found in the middle of the hallway that we didn't know whose it belonged to. We took that into the room so that I think it was Tom could sleep on the couch and didn't have to share a bed with Nick. Well, Caitlin ended up losing. You wouldn't be surprised if Caitlin didn't end up losing her fucking mind about this random couch now being in her dorm room. Made us put it back together and bring it back out into the hall. And then Nick and Tom were sitting there playing footsies all night, freaking out about who got the blankets and stuff like that. And Tom was like, I had to sleep with no blankets and it was so cold because Nick took them all. And Nick's like, yeah, that's right. And it was just funny. But we ended up going to the Coliseum. Oh, Jesus Christ, the Coliseum. I forgot about that. Yeah. We ended up going to the Coliseum, and I don't think we had VIP that night. And we just started drinking and whatnot, and I don't know. Caroline, did we have VIP the night that we went to the Coliseum with Caitlin? I don't remember. She's not answering me. But we might have, we might not have, but they tend to overserve and overpour. So it was just a crazy night. But the Coliseum, they used to offer a deal where it was like $400 and you get a VIP table with a free bottle of champagne. And, well, not free because you pay for it, with a bottle of champagne. But you also get basically like unlimited drinks. It was like 40 drinks, I think, for $400. So it was like a package deal. So you get 40 drinks for $400 and you get the table with the bottle of champagne. So if we had 8 people or 10 people, that's a great deal. Everybody pays $40. We get 40 drinks and we're good. But what would be awesome was that the server or the bottle girl was always the person who poured the drinks. So we'd walk in there and I'd give her $100 tip immediately before she even took anybody's order. I'd be like, here you go. Here's $100. Take these, take the money. And she'd be like, great, awesome. Don't worry about the drink count. So everybody could just drink as much as they want, because like, say everybody wanted a round of shots or 1 ounce drinks. It wouldn't necessarily count towards the 40. Like that number just kind of went out the window. But oh my God, people were just, it would just become a nightmare with like a bunch of, at this point, 21-year-olds, a bunch of us, 21, unlimited alcohol in a nightclub. And yeah, it just became a madhouse. It became Animal House. And we would stumble back to her dorm or whatnot or Uber home. And it's like, from here, it's like an hour to there or whatever. And that Uber would be crazy, or that drive would be crazy. So many times we would get a hotel and dude, I remember one of the times it was me and Caroline. So this was fairly recent. I don't necessarily drink much anymore, but oh, Sandy, we're talking about the most recent time that the whole group of friends went to the Coliseum and stayed at the Hampton. You'll probably remember this. And so this was probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago or so, maybe 2 years ago. I'm not sure, but we'll say 2 years ago, 2023. That's what we'll say. My friend Tom and his girlfriend had booked a hotel at the Hampton. It's a Hampton, so they were expensive rooms, right? Booked a hotel at the Hampton, a hotel room, and me and Caroline and Caroline's friend Brooke, the three of us booked Brooke and Amanda, right? Yeah, I think it was the 4 of us. Me, Caroline, Brooke, and Amanda had booked a hotel room for, what do you call it? our room. So it was like Tom, Nick, my friend Will, who's appeared on the show before, Willie D, not Willard Ford, who came on earlier, but Willie D, who came on one of the cigar nights, who probably will be back on again. But that was like the part. Their room was like the party room. Our room was kind of like the room where people hardly drink. Caroline doesn't drink. The past couple of years, since I was like 23, so the past 3 years, I haven't necessarily been big into drinking. I don't really consume much alcohol. Sometimes I'll consume a bottle of wine or whatnot. But as far as like hardcore drinking, I don't do it anymore. I don't smoke weed. I don't know. I don't like being sick the next day. But that night, you know, we all kind of were getting together. Now, I don't remember if it was a birthday or something. Someone's birthday. So we're all going down to the Coliseum. So it was in Rhode Island. And so we all get together. We all, you know, cheers, whatnot. And I remember, oh, dude, I think it was Tom's birthday. Someone set off like a confetti glitter cannon. So they literally, yes, it was the four of us in one room. All right, but Brooke, you're here. So Brooke is going to keep me on track because she was there for this. I remember someone set off like a glitter cannon in Tom's room and it went all over the place. So now Tom's room has glitter all over it. And we all took separate Ubers because there was like 15 of us to the Coliseum, did the VIP thing, started really consuming alcohol. Now I'm pretty relatively, it was my birthday. Okay, cool. So it was my birthday. Yes, that's right. It was my birthday. So now I don't necessarily drink much. So I think I drank the whole bottle of champagne and maybe had like one bourbon and soda while I'm at the club and whatnot. And I'm kind of just hanging out, doing our thing, right? But everybody like all at once, like Nick, Tom, Christina, Amanda, they all took, it was like 12:30. Everyone was fine. And it was like 1 o'clock and everybody started to go downhill. That's when the infighting started. And that's when the arguments started happening. You hit me and spilled this drink and that, whatever, right? And like, what do you mean, like my shoes? What do you mean my shoes look weird? Or right? It was just like the infighting started, and I'm like, oh boy, okay. Look at Caroline, I look at Brooke and Amanda, and I'm like, we gotta get out of here. So I said to Tom, I'm like, you know, Tom's starting to have a miserable time because everyone's starting to argue, everyone's starting to fight. And it's just because everyone's been drinking way too much. And I look at Tom and I'm like, Tom, let's book the Uber. And he's like, yeah, right. So he books 2 Ubers, or he books one and maybe I book one, or someone, I don't know how it went down. I forget. It was long ago. So the Ubers come, and I think it's me, Brooke, Amanda, and Caroline one. And then everybody else got in another one, right? And we get to the hotel right now. We're walking. We just get to the hotel before everybody else, and we head upstairs. Now, apparently some shit was going on downstairs that we all missed. So while we are out, peace. Brooke, I don't know if you're saying like we're out, like out of the club, peace, or if you're leaving the chat, like you're signing off for the night, peace. But yeah, no, we did leave the club, peace. Everything's starting to go downhill. You know, I was still pretty sober at the point, you know, but obviously the best policy if you're drinking to driving, the best policy is have 0 drinks and don't drive. Or have 0 drinks if you're looking to drive. If you have 1 drink, try to Uber, right? That's obviously the best. Yeah, oh yeah, peacing out the club. So I'm still relatively sober. Caroline's sober. Brooke is pretty sober. Amanda's a little buzzed at this point, right? So we dip out, we get to the hotel, we get upstairs, and we're upstairs for 10 minutes, right? Now, there was talks of like an after party in Tom's room or whatnot, but all of a sudden we hear, I'm like, oh boy. So I answer the door. It's my friend Nick, and he's like, yo, like, what's going on, bro? Right? He's had like loads of alcohol at the time. So I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna call it a night, dude. I'm like, I'm kind of not really feeling it right now. And he's like, no. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up. So he's like, all right, like come down, like if you want to, come down to my room if you want to party, right? And I'm like, all right, yeah, word, fine. So he goes back, and I go to bed. Right now, we shut the lights off. We're sleeping, right? So it's like not sleeping, but the lights are off. Everyone's changed. I'm out my dress shirt. I'm out my suit jacket, right? I was looking relatively normal that night. And I was dressed like this, pretty much, but just all in black. But so we're laying down. The lights are out, and I get another knock on the door. I open the door, and I'm like, I told them I'm not going to their after party. It's only been like 10 minutes since Nick was here. I'm like, I just told him I'm not going. I open the door, and it's like 2 security officers. And I'm like, oh, what's going on? And they're like, hi, we had a noise complaint for this room. I'm like, no, you didn't. I'm sleeping. They're like, no, we did. This room right here. I'm like, well, you can come in. There's 3 girls in here, and it's me. There's no noise complaint. And he's like, I don't know, man, blah, 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 whatever, right? And I'm like, not me. So I shut the door. I tell them, well, good night now. So they leave. They come back like 10 minutes later, and I'm laying down. So it's been quiet in the room, right? I'm trying to go to bed. I get a knock on the door. Dude, if we have, and he's like, and it's the same guy, the same 2 dudes. And they're like, if we have to tell you again, we're going to escort you out of the hotel, and we're gonna trespass you. And I'm like, my guy, I'm like, it's what you see is what you get. I'm like, it's dark in here. I'm like, there's no noise. There were no extracurricular activities happening in the room. It was literally just, we're all trying to go to bed. And he goes, I'm begging you, man, just please be quiet. I'm like, it's not me. I'm in PJs. I'm in like a tank top and pajamas, like plaid pajama pants. Well, the next room down, what had been happening were a series of things. Prior to all this going on, we had already arrived at the hotel. This is in Rhode Island, so this is how it pertains to the whole Rhode Island thing. We're in Warwick, or Providence, I'm sorry. And so we're sitting there, right? We get to the hotel. As we're upstairs, their second Uber arrives. We've all left the club. We're upstairs getting ready, getting undressed, getting ready for bed. And they're the partiers, the main, Tom, Nick, Will, Emily, and Ian, like all of them, Christina, all of them were now arriving at the hotel. Well, Tom and Christina started having an argument inside the lobby simultaneously to Nick getting trapped inside one of those doors, like the doors that spin, the glass ones, the glass panel doors that you push and you walk through, right? It's like the rotating doors. He got stuck in that and is out banging on the glass, like, I'm going to break this door down, simultaneously to Tom and Christina having like a full-on argument inside the lobby of the hotel room. And the staff is now just like, what the fuck is going on? So eventually all that somehow gets cleaned up and they all get into the elevator and they all get upstairs. Well, they had been partying and whatnot and causing a scene and whatnot. And people kept calling because they thought it was my room. But I'm like, guys, it's not my room. I'm like, so it was just kind of what was going on. And like, I remember going into their room the next day. Tom had slept on the floor in the bathroom. They had thrown a pillow underneath him. He had slept in the floor. It was just a disaster and totally wild. I don't think I'm mixing stories, but I'm pretty certain that that's pretty much how the night went. Brooke, you're in the chat. You were there. Am I missing something up? Am I missing something? Am I mixing stuff up? But yeah, that was a good Rhode Island story. That was a disaster. And that was kind of like the end of an era where we all sort of went out. I remember kind of looking at Caroline and going, I'm not doing this anymore. So that's kind of how my raging 20s came to an end, I guess, if you will. I was like, I want to focus on my life and creating a successful young adulthood. And by doing stuff like this, it's just not beneficial. It's a waste of time, to be truthful. But yeah, no, that was that. Totally wild. Totally wild. But yeah, it was definitely a crazy night for sure. But I remember, and here's another part of it is Tom got locked out of his room. So Christina and him were arguing or bickering about something, and she shut the door, and Tom was like trying to outside, like grab something, and he got locked out of his room. And he had went down to go get the key, like asked the front desk, like, hey guys, I know you guys have called on us 4 times, or we've been called on 4 times. Can you please let me back into my room? Well, they hadn't realized that Tom was part of that party that had been called on. And Tom went down to the desk. Now, Tom is just looking a mess, right? He's got glitter and confetti, and his hair is all messed up, and bags under his eyes, bloodshot eyes. He's been partying all night. And he goes down to the front desk, and he's waiting at the front desk, right? The elevator music's playing, right? And I remember Tom was like waiting. He rings the little bell, and the security team and the front desk staff were in the middle of having a conversation about calling the police to trespass his room as Tom's standing there waiting for the key. And he's like, they're going to trespass me. And he was like, hi, yeah, I've been locked out of my room. And they're like, okay, yeah, not a problem. We get you a duplicate key. And the lady's like, what room number? And he's like, not making this up. He's like 219 or 211 or something like that, right? And she just kind of looks at him like, really? He's like, I don't know. Brooke, I saw your message back. No, it's pretty accurate, but at one point, Caroline and I went down to their room, and it was chaos. Tom was yelling and screaming, and Christina wanted to go out the door, but glad you came down to get us. Oh, I came down and got you? Yeah, it was like 2 years ago. I don't really remember. I remember Amanda had left her purse in there and had to go back and get it, and it was just chaos. But yeah, it was just like a total disaster that night. Fun. I'm happy I have these memories, but it was stressful, super stressful, because I'm like, oh God, oh, this is happening and this and that, and this is fighting and whatnot. And yeah, it was a bit wild. I don't think I have any photos or anything from that night. I don't think so. Caroline, can you send me the picture of Tom laying in the bathroom with the confetti on him? I don't think I have it. Can you check and see if you do? That's a great picture. That's a legendary picture. I know I have it in Polaroid film. Thank God. Thank God that it's over, Sandy. Yeah. Yeah, it just was like, chaos. Clash of personalities. Didn't necessarily have a great outcome, but that's that. That's like the early 20s Seth party story stuff. Yeah. Similar situations happened like when I was still single and whatnot, and 20 years old, like had been 20 years old for like 2-3 months, stuff like that. But being like 23 and these things happening, it was just kind of like, it was getting old. I wasn't necessarily enjoying it. It's funny too. Like I've had people, like people that I respect, in their 40s and whatnot. And I'd be telling these stories to them and whatever. And they'd be like, oh man, like what else? Like I live vicariously through you. And I'm like, dude, they sound funny. I'm like, but at the time It was super stressful. Super stressful. Oh, you don't have it? I must have it. Someone's got it. I think my brother might have it. But I'd have to, I know he's working right now, so I don't, let me see. Let me just do a quick little search and see what I can pull up here. But yeah, it's just like not the, yeah, it's just not the, the lifestyle I condone anymore. I'm just not really into it. It is what it is. But yeah, Brooke, what else? Brooke, am I missing any other crazy nights? My memory kind of flies off the shelf here sometimes whenever I'm doing these live streams. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. Just kind of going through my phone. But I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I remember there was a time. This one was kind of like in the moment funny. I look back and I'm like, how did you manage that? There was a time where we were all sitting at a bonfire, some random house. I can't remember. It was when I first met Caroline. We weren't even like boyfriend and girlfriend because we had gone on a couple of dates and whatnot. And I had invited her to hang out with my friends and she had invited me to do the same with her friends. So we were all becoming really good friends and hanging out, and the friend groups were merging, and it was fun and it was getting cool. And I remember we were at a bonfire. Oh, Brooke responded. Brooke, are there any stories that I'm missing, like different nights that I could remember that I'm just forgetting? But there was this one night where we're at the bonfire and we're sitting there, we're like, we're running out of firewood. We're running out of firewood. 23. And someone said to this gentleman, Doug, a close friend of Caroline and Brooke at the time, and close friend of Caitlin who was there. And it was at someone's house that I had never met before. And they were like, Doug, can you go get us firewood? Doug was a big dude, 6 foot tall or whatever. He was a tall guy, thick, whatever, right? Not some kind of dude that you'd want charging at you. Not very muscular, but thick. And Doug was like, yeah, I got it, man. Right? So Doug disappears for literally like 10 minutes. And we forget that we asked him to get firewood. We just totally forget. Completely. And all of a sudden, and we're like in someone's backyard, and there's woods surrounding us. We hear shuffling, leaves crunching, and something dragging. Well, it would soon be revealed that Doug was dragging a tree from the woods. This guy dragged a legitimate tree out of the woods and dropped it in front of the fire pit like, here you go. And we're all just like sitting there memorized that this guy was carrying a tree. Like, we're like, 1, how did you find this? 2, it's pitch dark. 3, how did you carry this all the way here? It still has branches on it and everything. It wasn't just a log. I'm like, how did you fit this through the woods? No, but bro literally brought a tree. It was insane. And we're all just kind of like, this guy's crazy. Totally wild. That's kind of funny, lighthearted one. Yeah. That's a good one. Or, hold on. We got another one. We got another chat. Hold on. And there was another night where we always had Caroline's Christmas party. Caroline's a Christmas person. We were Christmas shopping today, actually. Home Goods, Michael's. I was looking for nutcrackers. And Caroline's Christmas party. We invited all the friends, and there's maybe 10 of us here, and we're all hanging out, and, you know, we're doing our thing. My friend Nick's there, and, you know, he's drinking a bit. You know, I was still relatively sober, trying to not send a bad message to Caroline's mom. I don't want to look bad in front of Caroline's mom. Nick ends up disappearing. The old Irish goodbye just disappears, walks out. Now, me being the concerned person that I am, I start, where is Nick? He's not here. Hey, is he outside smoking? Everyone's like, no, I haven't seen him in like a while. We thought he was in the bathroom. Oh, I thought he went outside. Didn't he say he had to go out to his car or something? Well, he disappears. And we're having a hard time locating him. So I call him. You know, and the phone's ringing on the table over there. And I'm like, oh, great. Now I can't track this kid. I don't know where he is. I grab his phone. I grab my phone. I go outside. His car's gone. And I'm like, oh, my God. He should not be driving right now. He should not be driving. So I'm like, all right. I don't know where he is. So I said to Caroline, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to take his phone, and I'm going to go drive by his house. I'm going to go make sure that he got home. I'm going to take the route that he probably would have went, because they lived like within 2 miles of each other. So I'm like, I'm going to go follow him home, or see if I can make sure that he got to his house all right, and I'm going to throw his phone on his car, on his roof or something. Everyone's like, all right, yeah, fine. So I leave because I'm still pretty sober at this point. I get my truck and I drive off, and I get to his house within 5 minutes, and he's not there. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. All right. I wait a minute. Nothing. His car's not there. And I'm like, all right, so let me go down to a local bar, a place that he frequents, and let me see if he's there. So I drive down. I spend another 10 minutes or so. So I drive down to the bar. You know, it's on the other side of town. And I'm making sure that, you know, he got there. Or if he did get there, I was going to offer to give him a ride home. Maybe tell the bouncer, like, hey, don't let him drink too much. But I get there and I don't see his car. So I'm like, I don't know where this guy went. Maybe he just, you know, went to the gas station or something to grab a Jewel pod or whatever. So I go back to Caroline's house, and on the way back, I drive by his house again, and he's still not there. So I'm like, all right, you know what? He's on his own. So I get back to the house, party's still going on, and we're doing our thing, right? We're hanging out, Yankee swap, you know, fooling around. And I had actually ended up getting one of my favorite coffee mugs ever from Brooke's boyfriend, Garrett, in the Yankee swap. It was a red Yeti, my absolute favorite. And party ends up clearing out. Everybody's leaving. I have Nick's phone, you know, with me. And I'm like, you know, Carolyn and I, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And I had a nonprofit charity event that I needed to be at like 8 a.m. the next morning. So I said to Caroline, I'm like, I have a bad feeling. And she's like, about what? I'm like, about Nick. I'm like, that doesn't seem normal, that he's not home and he's not at Players. And she's like, well, what are you going to do about it? I'm like, well, do you want to come with me and just go drive by his house and, you know, see what's going on? And again, I'm sober. I'm not really drinking at this point. And she's like, yeah, sure, I can go with you. So we get in the car, and we're trying to we go to his house. He's still not there. And it's been 3 hours. So I'm starting to get a bit concerned. But I go to his door, and I drop his phone off, and his mom answers the door, and I was like, oh, great. She's asking me all sorts of questions, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know where he is. I'm sorry. I'm like, it's up. I'm like, here's his phone. I'm like, I've tried. I'll let you know if I find anything. So I leave, and she wasn't too thrilled with me, but what am I supposed to do? We go back, and I set an alarm for a few hours later. More so took a nap rather than went to bed. And I woke up at like 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, right? 5 o'clock, I think it was. Got up, left Caroline's house, and I drove to all the local spots that I know he hits. Went to his house, his car's still not there. I went to Players, his car's not there. I went to Precinct 10, his car's not there. I went to all the local popular spots that I know he goes to. And I couldn't find him. So I'm getting a bit concerned. So a couple hours go by and I call Tom and I'm like, yo, Tom. And he's like, yo. And I'm like, have you heard from Nick at all? And he's like, no, I haven't. I'm like, can you just try to make some rounds? Go like to a couple different spots, see if you can find his car. And we can't find him. So he's been missing for like, at this point, like 10 hours. I'm at the nonprofit, right? I'm doing my thing. And I get a call and I'm like, hello? And my friend Tom's like, yeah, I got locked up. I'm like, oh boy. Oh no. Bro got locked up because he tried to go to Tom's house, the guy who called me. And in the process of that, Tom lives in like a really weird neighborhood. We have to take all sorts of different turns to get to. And it's like a community, right? Like a rich community. And Nick got confused while he was driving. He ends up driving his car onto someone's yard, right? Is the way it was told to me. Drives his car onto someone's yard, gets out, proceeds to start knocking on the door and try to open the door. Fortunately, the door was locked because Nick would have went straight into the house because he thought it was Tom's house. Starts knocking on the door. Hello, yo, open up. Boom, 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 boom. People call the police. The police come and arrest him or they PC him. They PC him because they couldn't prove he was driving, even though his car's on their property. But I remember just kind of being like, dude, that is insane. So that was another like part of the whole weird night crew. But I remember I was sitting there and I was in the kitchen cooking like eggs and stuff like that because it was like a benefit for veterans. And Tom calls me, yeah, I got PC'd, my neighbor, this, that. And I'm like, I remember sitting there going like, he drove on their yard? And Tom's like, yeah. I'm like, bro. I'm like, you can't be serious. And I'm like, are you going to go get him? And Tom's like, no, let him sit there. Let him sit there all day and think about what he's doing. So, yeah, that was another crazy holiday. Fortunately, all my friends have kind of relaxed a bit, all that type of stuff. But, yeah. Brooke, what other stories? Any other stories that I may be missing? We got the New Year's PC, which is a good one. That one I can tell quickly because that last one with the Christmas party was a bit long. But the New Year's PC was a good one. New Year's Eve, Nick, same guy, right? Has a hard time with alcohol when he's drinking. If he's not drinking, he's fine. But we drove him there. Caroline and I were like, oh yeah, we're going to leave early. So ball dropped, we bounced. It's snowing, by the way. It's a blizzard outside. It's a few years ago. And so we leave. Tom leaves. Brooke and Garrett leave. It's just Nick at the bar. His phone dies. And he's like, you know what? My house is only 6 miles away. I can walk. He's walking on a route. Like, you know how you have like Route 3, Route 1? He's walking on a route, Route 18. Many local people will know that route. He's walking down Route 18 in Weymouth. And it's snowing outside. So he starts balling up snowballs and he's throwing snowballs at like stop signs and whatnot. As he's walking in like a hoodie, jeans, and boots. He's balling up snowballs, throwing them at stop signs. And he starts throwing them at plow drivers. Which are, yeah, kind of funny. A little messed up, but whatever. Is what it is. Well, lo and behold, bro throws a snowball at a car. Just so happens to be a cop car. Cop bangs a Yui. Bro, in the meantime, has reloaded his snowball. Has another one. Cop pulls up. He doesn't realize it's a cop. He thinks that the cop's just pulling up to a red light. Throws the snowball at the window. Goes through the window. Like, because the window was down because the cop was trying to talk to him. The window was down. Snowball goes through the window and hits the cop. Well, the cop is in his car. doesn't take long to figure out what happens next. PC, we're taking, custody over you just so you can sober up, go in the drunk tank a bit. Oh, dude, so funny, man. So we always joke, like, what's the next stop on Nick's world tour of police stations for PCs? But what I remember hearing about that, going, a cop car? Really? But yeah, no. Bro threw a snowball into a cop car. I ain't never heard of something like that before. I couldn't believe it when he was telling me that one. Unbelievable. Oh, so funny. Well, I am going to probably wrap it up pretty soon, guys. Brooke, were you there for that night? The snowball night? I'm just curious. Were you there for that one? I need somebody else to validate this because I'm not lying. I want somebody else to prove that I'm telling the truth. Coffee's okay. It's like a 7 out of 10. 6 out of 10, I'd say. It's a bit light. Ugh. Like I said, I got a head cold, so I'm a bit sick, a bit ill tonight. But, doing our thing. I have some good stories about being down in Rhode Island with my friend Jordan, my friend Tyler, Barnabas's friends, hanging out with them. Nothing too crazy though. Some good stories. But yeah, just lots of fun stuff, like early 20s type stories that will just never go old. But I have a hard time remembering them because I don't know. Yeah, it's just because they've been a few years, But no, that snowball one was always crazy. That was always a wild one. Totally crazy. But yeah, guys, if you guys have any, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. I'm going to start wrapping it up. If anyone has any questions for me. It's been a fun night. Been different, It's been kind of like a storytelling night, which is totally different from what the coffee hours usually are. But I do like the idea of having like a family member on. I think that'd be fun. I know my mother might be trying to get Sunday nights off from work, so it'd be kind of interesting to play the card game with her on camera. You guys can kind of see where I get some of my mannerisms from. Yeah, I was going to drive him home and he won't come. So I said, I'm leaving without him. And he walked home the next morning and Caroline told me that he got arrested. Yeah. Okay, cool. There we go. Yeah. I forget what I was doing that morning when I heard about that one. It's funny too. Like when I've talked to Nick about this stuff, like, hey, you got PC'd. He's always like, yeah, got PC'd last night. I'll tell you, like, the food they serve you in the morning, it's just like the worst food ever. Like, it's literally from McDonald's. I'm like, that's your main concern is food? Yeah, bro, you gotta get the protein count in. I'm like, dude. He goes, I shouldn't have even eaten it. It's like a cheat meal. I'm like, bro. I'm like, I don't think a cheat meal right now is what you should be concerned about. Maybe the 14 beers and the Blazing Sun of Gloucester is what you should be concerned about. And then going out that night, I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Wild. Everybody's since died down, though. It was fun for a couple of years, but then everyone started to mature, and now it's a bit more relaxed, Everyone started to relax, but we all look back at these stories. We tell these stories pretty often, and we always laugh. It's always fun. New details usually come out that, we haven't heard before, whatever it be. But yeah, it's always a blast. But any last minute questions, guys, before I wrap it up? We got a bunch of you in here, so I just want to say, mainly I just want to say thanks for hanging out with me during this story time, coffee hour type stuff. A bunch of you guys have been communicating through email with me, which is great. Seth Rosczewski at gmail.com. Feel free to shoot me an email if you guys want to talk about something, have a recommendation or a request that you want directly sent to me and not just on the comment board. I'll answer most of them. Did we just get a new message? No. Sorry. But yeah, and then same with Instagram too. If anybody wants to follow me on Instagram, Seth_Rosczewski. It's funny, I was just DMing with a listener, Sammy, about getting her a book. She's out in Canada for all my Canadian friends. But yeah, give me a shout. Thanks, Seth. We laughed pretty hard tonight. Hope you feel better soon. Yeah, it's just a head cold, I was really nervous about Saturday with the filming. I remember I woke up and I was just like, all right. I feel fine enough to do the episode, so I'll make sure I keep my distance from everybody. Try not to, be too close and get people sick. But popped a bunch of Advil. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm texting people trying to get some Sudafed, like the stuff that you need to buy from the clerk, the pharmacist, the stuff like that. So yeah, it was just like Sudafed, ibuprofen, coffee. And yeah. Oh, and I think tomorrow they'll be getting delivered. I did get myself, Rich, and Caroline a sweatshirt. A bit expensive to make, but I'm going to try to find cheaper ways to do it just so that if anybody in the audience wants one, they absolutely can get one. I won't make a profit on it. Yes, Sandy, you did deliver with the Sudafed. Thank you. Because I was not feeling well, but that stuff worked like a charm. I actually took some of it today, so thanks again. I have some in my work desk, but there was no way I was driving to work, unarming the building, rearming the building, and coming back. So made it much more of an enjoyable experience yesterday. But so if I can show you what the sweatshirts actually look like. I think they're pretty cool. I'm trying to find a local company that will print them. If I can buy like the materials and see if they can just press it onto the shirts, because I'm not looking to make like a store or anything like that. Just if somebody wants one, just DM me and I'll charge them what it costs to make them. I'm not really looking to make a profit on them. Just why would I? No need. But I can try to pull that up right now. Those should be getting delivered tomorrow. I think they're pretty cool. I wear a lot of black. Anybody that knows me knows I usually wear a lot of black. So they are black in style. But I did get a quarter zip, which is kind of like battleship gray, I guess I could say, is the color. But let me pull this up right now. And if any of you guys are interested in, let me know. Like I said, I'll just charge you what it costs to make, plus shipping or whatnot. Or maybe I could even have it shipped directly to you. I can make it work. And show you what the proofs look like. All right, here we go. The front. So that was the front and the back. It says TSR podcast up on the front with a coffee cup. Thought that was pretty cool. And then the back said, what did the back say? Fueled by coffee, driven by curiosity. I thought that was kind of a fun saying. There's one that I'm looking to do right now that's I thought it'd be kind of fun to be coffee stains in my veins. Kind of fun, like little text stuff. I don't know. But yeah, if anyone's interested, shoot me a message via email or whatnot, and I can try to get a cheap option made and figure out what happens. But I wanted to get something for Rich, myself, and Caroline, just because, the three of us are doing the podcast every week and whatnot. So check them out. You guys can obviously contact me through the website. There's a contact form that's right there that just goes directly to my email. Or you can send me a message through Instagram. If you find me on Facebook, you can send me just a Facebook message, or you can comment on my Facebook, and I can try to get back in touch with you that way. I'm pretty active on any type of messaging boards or whatnot. Got a comment. Let me pull it up on my phone just because I can't see it. I can see that someone came in a comment. Chocolate stains in my veins. Oh, what's going on, Ari? Ari, I got a video I got to show you tomorrow, which is pretty funny. Total War. She'll get the reference. It's just a energy drink. Consumed a Total War today, Ari. I needed to make sure that I was caffeinated for today's episode, for today's live stream, and kind of powered me through a bit of an illness, whatever it was that I caught. But here we go. Sorry, I'm really late, folks. Hope everyone had a great holiday. Julie, it's good to see you. How you been? Yeah, it's a bit late, but I am going to be tuning out. Today, Julie, we just kind of talked, like, it wasn't really questions. It was more of like a storytelling vibe tonight, where I told some stories from my very, very early 20s and just some experiences that I had when I was younger with my friends, prior to meeting Caroline, chasing girls and whatnot. So always fun stuff like that. Fiending for war. Yeah. No, I'm a very peaceful person, but that Total War pre-workout, Ari, I'll tell you, is top tier. Consume at your own risk. I am not a nutritionist. But with that, guys, if there's any last minute questions, send them into the chat right now, or else I'm going to call it a night. Next week, we got Eli Frankel coming on about Night Stalker. We don't have anything planned for the following week, but we've been talking about Jack the Ripper. We've been talking about Zodiac. We've been talking about Missy Bevers. Yeah, this past episode earlier today was Anthony Amore and the Gardener. So hopefully I'll be seeing him at the Gardener pretty soon. I almost missed the live. I was making matching friendship bracelets for me and Sanaya. Don't tell her, though. She won't know from me unless she's watching. That sounds like fun. Friendship bracelets. Awesome. With that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up tonight. Feel free to send me a message on Instagram, email, all that type of stuff. And bye, Brooke. Bye, Julie. Bye, Ari. Bye, Sandy. Bye, Barnabas. I'll be talking to you guys later. Ari, I will see you tomorrow in class. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. Had a great Thanksgiving. I certainly did. Check out the Thanksgiving special episode that came out with Willard Ford on Lizzie's cookbook. Someone's in the kitchen with Lizzie. Check out that episode. It's about a half hour, 40 minutes or so. And it's on meals that Lizzie probably enjoyed. Lizzie's meatloaf. I'll be talking to you. Tune in next week for Eli. And I'll be seeing you guys later. Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy your coffee. And I'll be seeing y'all later. Bye-bye.